Welcome to this week's video.
Hi viewers, do you like milk? Ever wondered what it takes to deliver milk to some of the remotest places on the earth? Well, apparently it takes a plane, or 5 of them. Welcome to the Alaska Milk Run, where instead of your groceries coming to you, you have to fly across great glaciers, fjords, and the middle of nowhere just to find a carton of milk. This is one of the world's most legendary flight routes, serving tiny Alaskan towns, carrying everything from passengers to packages to, well, milk. Is this the most scenic grocery delivery service in the world? Or just an excuse for me to take 5 flights in one day? Come with me and we'll go and find out. Welcome to the Alaska Milk Run.
Good morning from the Alaska lounge here in Anchorage Airport. A tiny lounge. I had issues getting in with my Royal Jordanian One World Sapphire. It just wasn't being recognised in the Alaska system. So they let me in eventually, but with a lot of persuasion. So I'm having a bit of breakfast. My flight is due to leave in about an hour's time, but it's already delayed because of thick fog here in Anchorage. I'm flying on the Alaska Milk Run today down to Ketchikan. So there was really thick fog in Anchorage today that get thicker and thicker as the morning went on. But Anchorage Airport is a great place to play and watch. It is the 2nd biggest cargo airport in the US and the 4th busiest in the world, so there's lots of aircraft to see. It's a busy little lounge this, considering that Anchorage is Alaska's 2nd biggest hub. The lounge is tiny. There's a small selection of breakfast foods, and got myself a coffee while I wait. So the flight I'm taking is making its way down from Dead Horse in the far north of Alaska, and we're taking one of the 3 Alaska milk runs today from here in Anchorage down to Ketchikan via Juneau, Wrangell and Petersburg. So this is AS64. I've got about 30 minutes until we board. Then it should be a good flight. The fog has started to clear. It was really thick fog this morning when I got here, but it started to clear now. The flight has just landed in from Dead Horse, and we'll be on board soon, and then I'll show you around the seat that we're going to be in for 6-ish hours depending on the weather down to Ketchikan. And then there's an interesting way to get to the city, Alaska's first city. This flight carries on down through to Seattle, but we're getting off at Ketchikan because we've got a couple of videos to make there. And then, yeah, it should be an interesting half a day on board. Let's look at how much snow has been cleared up in the past hour. They've pushed it into a wall of snow. So the fog seems to be coming back here. It's getting thicker again, just in time for the flight to be leaving. So this is the aircraft just pulling up to stand now. Boeing 737-700, a real workhorse of Alaska Airlines. I think they've had this aircraft for at least 15 years, and it is solely used on the Alaska Milk Run.
the fog was getting thicker and thicker, was the plane gone? Can you see the plane? It's definitely still there. But the fog, it was just
thick now.
really thick.
You could see.
To the extent when a lot of aircraft were having to return back to stand and flights were being cancelled.
Flights had disappeared.
Of all of the flights that I thought would be cancelled, I thought mine would definitely be one of them.
So the flight is delayed by a bit, but let's head down to the gate anyway. So we can be there.
So welcome aboard this flight down towards Seattle, the Alaska Milk Run 64. The first leg is the longest that I'll be taking today. From Anchorage down to Juneau, it's about 1 hour 40 minutes and 496 nautical miles. Total distance is 1,293 nautical miles. So first is Juneau. Let's settle in for the next 6 hours in this seat. I think a lot of people are going to be getting off part way down. I love hearing the engine spooling up on these small aircraft. Leg 1 from Anchorage down to Juneau, now underway. It's a bumpy old flight. We're being bashed around by the winds. It's quite a busy flight. Lots of people are going home for Thanksgiving. So the leg room on this flight is pretty good actually. I'm 6'3". And my legs don't even touch the seat in front of me, which is good when you're on this milk run flight for 6-7 hours. The seat is quite comfortable as well, quite roomy. Even with people sat next to you, I think you'd have a lot of leg room here, which is really good. I'm impressed with the seats on this Alaska flight. This flight, you can watch free TV, free movies, there's free texting, and you can purchase an internet pass. We're also getting a small drink service, but because it's such a short flight, they can't really serve any food. So let me tell you about the Alaska Milk Run. So this is Alaska Airlines Flight 64. It is from Anchorage down to Juneau, Wrangell, Petersburg, Ketchikan, then Seattle. There is 2 alternatives that you can take. There are a couple of different stops along the route down from Anchorage. There's also Cordoba and 1 or 2 other stops. If you stop in Juneau, you can go through all of the different routes along the milk run, but it's really difficult to book this flight. You need to find availability for all of the legs you want to take. So there are just mountains for as far as the eye can see, as
as we start our slow descent down into Juneau, the most inaccessible state capital in the whole US. Slam down into Juneau. First of 4 flights now done. You can't see out of the window. The windows have completely steamed up. So we have about an hour stop here in Juneau. Somebody's just come on to check we're all in the right seats. So about 3/4 of the flight got off here. We could go into the terminal, but I think we'd have to go through TSA to get back on board, and I don't want to do that. It's also quite cold and icy outside, so I'm staying on board. I'm expecting us to get some people to join here in Juneau to go down to the other stops on the way to Seattle. They're going to be shorter flights than this one. It's also just started snowing. Yeah, we'll just wait and see how many people get back on. About twice as many people got on board than left. It started to snow quite heavily outside, but hopefully we'll be on our way to Petersburg soon. So Petersburg is about 107 miles from Juneau, so it should be about a 35-minute flight if we can take off in the thick fog.
You're ready to close the boarding door. Please place the bags in the airplane mode.
So the snow is really coming down now. So we're just taxiing now for a short flight over to Petersburg. That's not St. Petersburg, it's Petersburg, Alaska. We won't even get into the 20,000 feet before we start to descend again. So it's literally an up and down flight. Second flight underway. There's absolutely nothing to see out of the window. It's just a complete whiteout. Short flight today. Hopefully we can land in Petersburg. It's a bumpy old flight. Lots of turbulence on this leg. So normally on the southbound version of the Milk Run, sitting on the left hand side would have the best views. But there are absolutely no views of anything, it's just white. There are some pretty spectacular mountain views as we descend into Petersburg, Alaska. Down into Petersburg. We were up for about 20 minutes and we're down again. I think we're here for about 15 minutes and then we're off to Wrangell.
Welcome to Petersburg. The local time is 1:54.
So about half the flight got off here in Petersburg and maybe 7 or 8 more people got on here to go down to Wrangell. So we're now taxiing for our third flight on this Milk Run. A 10-minute flight down to Wrangell. So there's no pushback at this airport. The aircraft has to power itself along the runway and then turn around. As soon as we went into the clouds, the announcement was made that we were preparing for landing. Literally up and down, less than 10 minutes between Petersburg and Wrangell. Down into Wrangell, and the plane is leaking on me. There's water dripping on my back.
It's 3 o'clock. Please keep your seatbelts on. Our pilot will turn off the seatbelt sign and say to get up.
So we have about an hour on the ground here in Wrangell. So Wrangell's population is about 2,000. The main industries are mining and fishing. Deep in the panhandle of Alaska. Then we will be taking the next flight to Ketchikan, our last flight of today, the final leg on this flight today,
Stay seated and pull down on the oxygen mask to start the flow of oxygen. Remove any face covering. Then place the oxygen.
Pitch black outside. It's also pitch black in the plane as well, all the lights are turned off. So we left Anchorage this morning in the thick fog at around 10:50 AM and we landed to Ketchikan at about 5 PM in the pitch darkness. Next stop in a couple of days' time on this video, Seattle, on the final leg of a different branch of the Alaska Milk Run. This video here and pick up again when I get the flight to Seattle in a few days' time. The next few days I will be filming in Ketchikan. So to get from Ketchikan Airport you've got to take a 5-minute ferry across to the mainland that costs $6 each way. And then my hotel has set a transfer to meet me at the other end. So it's not ideal if you're in a rush or you leave your arrival at the airport until the last minute, because you can't do that here. Welcome to the international hub that is Ketchikan Airport here in Ketchikan. So I had the worst experience with TSA here. Seattle was fine. Other airports I've been to were fine. This small airport, full pat down, emptied bags, scanned 4 times, and then shouted out for taking my watch off. It's not the best experience on the flight down to Seattle, but one of the things that you do get here apparently is free snacks and drinks provided by TSA. So you get interrogated and they empty your bags but then give you a free drink because of it. So let's see what.
And those passengers in our first class cabin.
So behind me you can see the whole terminal here in Ketchikan. Got myself an apple juice and we've got about an hour before the flight. No Wi-Fi, no phone signal, no action outside of the windows. I might have got here a bit too early, but the weather's closing in as well, so hopefully the flight from Sitka to Ketchikan and then Ketchikan to Seattle can actually take off. This is Alaska Airlines AS-62 down to Seattle. So they have these little libraries here in these small airports. You can just help yourself to something to read. Then the purpose is that you get something here and then you drop it off at another airport when you stop off, which I think is quite a good idea. It gets younger people to read. And as I'm saying that, there are a couple of young people sat playing on phones, so obviously it doesn't work completely. We should be getting ready to board soon. The flight has just arrived in the pouring rain. Quite a few people here today. I thought it would be quite quiet, but no, there's a few people. Yep, we should be boarding. It should take about an hour down to Seattle, and then the video arriving into Seattle will start, so that will be coming at some point soon too.
Each guest can go to one small personal item and one chair item of this easily in the baggage side service. Today, please take note of your boarding room, which is on the boarding pass.
Let's go and head down to board the Shrek plane down to Seattle. So I just noticed that the Alaska Airlines logo font is different on the aircraft to what it is on the boarding stairs here in Ketchikan, and I'm not sure why. So this is the font on the boarding stairs, which matches the other boarding stairs, but doesn't match the tow truck. And you can't quite see it, but it doesn't match the plane either. Have they rebranded recently? If you know why this is, let me know in the comments, I'm interested. So on board the final flight on the Milk Run and the flight to take me out of Alaska for the last time on this trip. It should be about an hour and 10-15 minutes down to Seattle from Ketchikan on AS-62 with Alaska Airlines. Quite an empty flight today, probably 40 people at most.
We're being released by air traffic control about 40 minutes early, so we should land in Seattle about 3:30ish. Should be quite a nice flight, bit bumpy, bit foggy, bit of turbulence, but should be fine, so just sit back and get ready to go. So last takeoff from Alaska on this trip. So this is 737-700. It's a different aircraft to the one that I arrived in Ketchikan on. This one is a lot more battered. It seems a bit older, scratched, dirty. The seats seem to be a lot thinner. The window blind on this seat doesn't seem to go down properly. One of the toilets is also out of order, and the cabin crew seem, well, I overheard one of them saying it's her first ever flight as cabin crew, and they seem very overly familiar with some of the passengers. Inappropriate jokes and gossiping in the galley, which is not great really. But we have just hit some turbulence, but we should be in Seattle fairly soon. And then the Alaska Milk Run journey is over for this trip. So a full food and drink service is available on this flight. The other legs of the Milk Run, including the longer one from Anchorage down to Petersburg the other day, there wasn't any food, but you can choose from stump down coffee, hot teas, fruit juices, cokes, all complimentary, and a couple of people have ordered a boxed meal. I've ordered a Mediterranean tapas meal, so hummus, olives, fruit bar. It's Thanksgiving, so I don't think anything's going to be open when we get to Seattle, so I thought I would pay the $8 for a small meal on board. Yeah, so I think it's fine for a short flight. I'm right at the back of the cabin. I have 5 rows to myself, so it might take a while for me to get my food and drink. We're already starting to slowly descend down towards Seattle, so I might not even get a chance to get a drink by the time the trolley gets to me, but we will see. So So they forgot to load my pre-ordered meal onto the flight in Ketchikan. But I've got myself coffee to wake me up and keep me going. As we come into land into Seattle, the landscape is so different to Alaska. Very flat, forested, a football field or a baseball pitch every minute or so, skyscrapers in the distance. We are planted down into Seattle. Goodbye, Alaska. Hello, Washington State. And with that final touchdown, after 7 hours of flying on Alaska Airlines Milk Run from Anchorage down to Seattle, I'll bring this video to an end. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments, would you want to spend 7 hours stopping at tiny little airports all along the coast of Alaska? Have you done it? What are the other stops like that I didn't stop off at? Please let me know. Thanks for watching. Bye. And here's my Instagram. Give me some love.